Imagine opening your eyes one morning only to discover that the nearest full-service grocery store isn't around the corner anymore. It's suddenly a 15-mile drive from your home. No notice, no explanation, just gone. This isn't a scene from a dystopian future. This is the reality unfolding across America in 2025. A quiet but rapid wave of supermarket closures is sweeping through the country, overtaking neighborhoods that never dreamed their only affordable store could vanish overnight. So far, more than 7,000 grocery and retail locations have shut their doors nationwide. But the number itself isn't the real threat. The real danger lies in what these closures leave behind. Longer trips for basic food, rising costs, fewer options, and millions of people being pushed into what experts are now calling the fastest-growing food deserts in U.S. history. And here's the part almost no one is willing to acknowledge. The chains collapsing the quickest aren't tiny local markets. They're some of the biggest national names. Brands with a century of history, corporations worth billions, and companies once marketed as the future of robotic, automated shopping. Yet today, many of them are shrinking, pulling out of regions, or vanishing entirely. Each shutdown exposes something deeper. America's food supply system is facing pressures unlike anything we've seen before. And the weak points are cracking open in places most people assumed were safe. By the time you finish this video, you'll know which supermarket chains are falling apart, why this is happening right now, and how these changes could impact your community long before the year comes to a close. Number 10. Kroger. For more than a century, actually closer to 140 years, Kroger has been one of the most dependable names in American grocery shopping. It's the store many people over 50 remember walking through as kids, holding a parent's hand, picking out cereal, and feeling like nothing ever changed there. That's why what's happening in 2025 feels almost surreal. Kroger, a brand long considered unshakable, is finally pulling back. The company has publicly acknowledged that around 60 locations are scheduled to shut down over the next year and a half. At first glance, 60 stores might not sound like the end of the world, until you look at the financial reality behind grocery retail. Supermarkets operate on razor-thin margins, usually between 1% and 3%. That means the smallest shift, a bump in employee wages, a rise in fuel prices, or higher trucking costs, can wipe out an entire store's yearly profit in a matter of weeks. Right now, all those pressures are hitting simultaneously. Refrigerated trucks, essential for a chain like Kroger, cost more to operate than many individual stores earn. Labor expenses climb every quarter, and customers have quietly changed their buying habits in a way that hits Kroger right where it hurts. Middle-income families now divide their shopping between multiple stores: Walmart for low prices, Aldi for quick, cheap runs, Costco for stocking up. Younger shoppers jump from deal to deal with little brand loyalty. Older Americans living on fixed incomes cut back on visits because every checkout total feels heavier than the last. This combination has forced Kroger into the retail category no one wants to occupy: the middle ground. Not the cheapest, not the fastest, not the biggest bargain. Just stuck between competitors who each outperform them in a different way. But beyond the economics, the real impact hits communities on a human level. In many small towns, Kroger isn't just a grocery store, it's the store. It's the only place with a pharmacy, the only place offering fresh produce, the one dependable spot for families who can't afford to drive an extra 20 or 30 minutes just to buy food. So when a Kroger location shuts down, it doesn't just remove a shopping option, it disrupts the entire rhythm of daily life in that town. Number 9. Safeway. For many decades, Safeway wasn't just another grocery chain along the West Coast. It was woven into the everyday routine of millions of people. Older shoppers especially relied on it, trusting the familiar layout, the same friendly clerks, and the comforting predictability of a place that felt like it would always be there. But in 2025, that sense of permanence is breaking apart in ways customers never expected. Safeway stores across California, Washington, and Oregon have begun disappearing quietly, one location at a time. In the San Francisco Bay Area alone, 4 stores shut down within a single year. Some longtime customers arrived expecting to grab groceries as usual, only to find darkened storefronts, locked doors, and a simple handwritten note taped to the window. No notice, No warning. Just an empty building where a community staple once stood, and the reasons run much deeper than a few underperforming locations. Safeway operates under the larger umbrella of Albertsons, and when a parent company struggles, every chain beneath it feels the tremor. Restocking delays have grown common. Shelves that were once reliably full now fluctuate week to week. Meanwhile, operating costs on the West Coast continue to climb faster than a traditional supermarket can generate profit. Loyal shoppers who used to stop by Safeway after work are now comparing receipts. They see that Walmart is cheaper, Trader Joe's feels fresher, and Costco offers bulk value, so their habits shift, slowly and quietly. But what people talk about most isn't the money. It's the emotional loss. Many customers over 50 say, Safeway is the one store where they know every cashier by name. A grocery stop that feels personal, not transactional. So when a Safeway shuts down, it's more than a retail closure. It feels like a piece of the neighborhood's identity has been erased. A small but meaningful anchor of daily life suddenly gone. Number 8. Albertsons. Albertsons is one of those classic American grocery names people once believed would last forever. With nearly 9 decades behind it, and a family of brands that include Safeway, Vons, Jewel-Osco, and several of the most recognizable supermarket chains in the country, the company always appeared too big, too embedded in daily life, too established to falter. But 2025 is proving that even giants can crack. Behind the scenes, Albertsons has entered one of the most vulnerable chapters in its entire history. Financial experts have sounded alarms no one ever expected to hear about a corporation of this size. Rapid Ratings, a major risk assessment firm, labeled Albertsons as being at very high risk of default. That classification sent shockwaves through the retail world. The warning signs started showing up in stores long before the headlines caught up. In parts of California, Washington, and Nevada, customers noticed subtle changes: shelves taking longer to refill, fewer product choices, and longtime employees quietly admitting that things felt different behind the scenes. Then came the number that shook the workforce the hardest: a $565 million shortfall in the company's pension fund. For tens of thousands of workers who spent years, even decades, building their lives inside these stores, that news felt like the floor shifting under them. The company's big hope was a merger with Kroger, a massive deal designed to help both chains survive an increasingly brutal grocery landscape. But regulators blocked the merger on antitrust grounds, leaving Albertsons trapped in a harsh reality, too weak to thrive independently, yet legally prevented from merging in order to regain stability. It's a corporate limbo, and every month spent in that limbo pushes the company closer to collapse. Communities feel the unease too. Neighborhoods that depend on Albertsons for fresh produce, affordable groceries, and pharmacy services sense the uncertainty creeping in. Small businesses around those stores lose steady foot traffic. Older adults, who rely on familiar routines and trusted locations, worry about losing the one grocery store that has always felt like theirs. Number 7. Amazon Fresh. When Amazon Fresh first appeared, it felt like the grocery world had finally leapt into the future. All you had to do was scan your hand, walk inside, grab what you wanted, and stroll right out. No checkout lines, no chatting with a cashier, no waiting behind 3 overflowing carts during the dinner rush. It looked modern, effortless, and almost unbeatable, the kind of innovation only a tech powerhouse like Amazon could create. But in 2025, that futuristic dream has collided with real-world limitations, and the outcome is nothing like what the industry predicted. Amazon has quietly shut down multiple Fresh stores across the US, and the reasons reveal a fundamental flaw that slick marketing couldn't hide. At the heart of Amazon Fresh was its Just Walk Out technology, a system built on a dense web of sensors, cameras, scanners, and data processing equipment. Each store cost millions to construct and millions more to operate. But here's the catch. The grocery business operates on some of the smallest profit margins of any industry. When the cost of the technology outweighs the profit from the food being sold, the entire model collapses. Inside the stores, the experience was undeniably impressive, but it wasn't complete. Yes, the system could track what you placed in your bag, but it couldn't answer simple questions. Are these strawberries fresh today? Which brand of yogurt has the longest expiration date? Are the apples sweeter this week Or should I wait? Technology also can't sort out wilted produce, restock a display with care, or build the kind of trust people expect from the place where they buy their food. Amazon ended up learning a lesson traditional grocers have understood for generations. Buying groceries isn't just a transaction, it's an experience shaped by routine, touch, comfort, and human connection. Communities felt the unraveling of the experiment too. Shoppers who loved the novelty were confused when their store suddenly went dark. Others, who were skeptical from the start, saw the closures as proof that automation can't fully replace the human heartbeat of grocery shopping. Number 6. Save a Lot. Save a Lot was created with one clear goal in mind: to offer low-income families a place where groceries were still within reach. For years, it served communities that bigger chains overlooked, neighborhoods where every dollar mattered, and even a tiny price difference could shift a family's entire budget for the week. Because of that mission, Save a Lot once felt almost untouchable, like the one chain that would always endure. But 2025 has revealed a harsh truth. Even the grocery store designed for America's poorest households is struggling to stay alive. Over the last 10 years, Save a Lot has already closed or sold over 300 stores, and the shrinkage hasn't stopped. Across states like Missouri, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, customers have watched shelves slowly empty out, product selection narrow, and then, without any warning, a sign appears on the front door announcing that the store is permanently shut down. Some closures happen so quietly that people only discover the truth when they stop by after work and find the lights off, shopping carts chained together, and the parking lot empty. The core issue isn't a shortage of shoppers. Save a Lot's customer base is loyal. They've relied on it for decades. The real problem is far more painful. Its customers are often too poor to support a vulnerable business model in an era where competitors have turned extreme efficiency into their greatest weapon. Chains like Dollar General, Aldi, and Walmart Neighborhood Market have engineered logistics systems so advanced and streamlined that they can sell low-priced goods and still turn a profit. Save a Lot simply can't keep pace. Its franchise structure is fragmented, its supply network is outdated, and its financial resources are too thin to compete in a market where literally every penny counts. And the human toll is far heavier than any spreadsheet or quarterly report can show. When a Save a Lot closes, many neighborhoods lose the only affordable food source they had. Families already juggling rising rents, steep utility bills, and stagnant wages now have to travel farther and pay more for groceries they barely managed to afford to begin with. A closed discount grocer doesn't just create a food desert, it creates a hope desert, leaving entire communities with choices they were never financially prepared to face. Number 5. Winn-Dixie. For almost 100 years, Winn-Dixie has been woven into the cultural heartbeat of the American South. In places like Florida, Georgia, and Alabama, that red and white sign wasn't just a store logo. It was part of the weekly rhythm of life. Families stopped there after church. Grandparents picked up ingredients for Sunday dinner. Generations shared routines that felt steady and familiar, almost immune to change. That's why the shifts happening in 2025 feel like a quiet earthquake rolling through southern communities. Southeastern Grocers, the parent company behind Winn-Dixie, has announced yet another round of permanent closures this year. And this time, unlike past attempts at restructuring or rebranding, these shutdowns aren't about improving efficiency. They're about staying alive. Transportation expenses have pushed the company into the most expensive distribution period in its history. Fuel prices and long-haul logistics hit southern supply routes especially hard, and every additional mile of refrigerated trucking eats deeper into already thin margins. At the same time, wages across many southern states have climbed steadily, while sales at aging Winn-Dixie stores remain modest. The brand is stuck in a painful conflict between what it used to represent and what the market now demands. Shoppers who once proudly called Winn-Dixie their store are drifting toward alternatives: Walmart for lower prices, Publix for convenience, Aldi for weekly savings. Young families follow their budgets. Older adults prioritize stores closer to home. And what Winn-Dixie offers simply doesn't match the needs of a region where inflation has chipped away at purchasing power for 3 consecutive years. But the emotional impact is far deeper than the financial one. In countless southern towns, the closure of a Winn-Dixie feels like losing a piece of the community's identity. The end of a small but powerful shared ritual. Nearby diners and restaurants see fewer customers. Local shops feel the slowdown. For many longtime residents, it is the disappearance of a landmark that shaped everyday routines for decades. Number 4. Sprouts Farmers Market. For many years, Sprouts Farmers Market represented something refreshing in the grocery world, a place where you could buy clean, nutritious food without paying the premium prices associated with Whole Foods. It became the favorite stop for shoppers who wanted fresher produce, healthier choices, and a sense of wellness, without feeling like they were draining their bank account. But in 2025, that image is slowly falling apart. And it's not because people stopped caring about health. It's because maintaining a healthy lifestyle has become more expensive than many families can manage. Inflation has completely rewritten what affordable means. A simple box of strawberries, once an easy, guilt-free treat, now approaches $9. Leafy greens that used to seem reasonably priced regularly climb above $5. Organic meat options often cost double their conventional counterparts. For middle-class households already struggling with rising rent, higher utility bills, and medical expenses, eating clean doesn't feel like a choice anymore. It feels like a luxury. As these pressures mount, Sprouts has begun quietly shrinking. Locations in California, Colorado, Arizona, and New York have reduced staff, scaled back their fresh departments, or shut down entirely without much publicity. In some places, the Sprouts sign was removed within a day, leaving customers stunned. At the heart of the issue is a structural mismatch. Sprouts sits in a difficult middle ground, healthier and fresher than standard grocery stores, yet not cheap enough for families trying to stretch every dollar. Trader Joe's beats them with low prices and cult-level efficiency. Whole Foods captures the high-end, premium shopper. Sprouts ends up squeezed between people's aspirations and their financial limits. And the emotional shift among customers is unmistakable. People who once filled their carts with organic produce now openly admit they simply can't afford to eat healthy anymore. They walk out with fewer items, visit less frequently, or leave Sprouts behind altogether. For many, Sprouts was a symbol of balance, proof that healthy food could still be accessible. Losing that balance feels like losing a small piece of hope. Number 3. Lies Market. Lies Market once symbolized a bright new chapter in the grocery world, a place promising organic foods without the intimidating Whole Foods price tag, healthier options without the elite branding, and a warm, neighborhood-style atmosphere that felt more human than anything offered by the big chains. For years, shoppers described Lies as a more welcoming version of Trader Joe's and a more affordable alternative to Whole Foods, the perfect balance between quality and cost. But in 2025, that promise has run headfirst into economic pressures the brand simply couldn't outrun. The price of everything involved in organic food, from the materials used in farming, to transportation, to refrigeration, to basic labor, surged long before the overall economy started cooling down. For a chain built on healthy but still accessible, these rising expenses attacked the one thing Lies couldn't afford to lose: its fragile profit margins. By late 2024 and into 2025, the financial stress became impossible to mask. Lies reported steep, double-digit drops in revenue, and stores in Colorado, Florida, and Ohio began closing in sudden waves. Some locations shut their doors within days of the decision, leaving loyal customers shocked and employees scrambling to understand what had happened. The tragedy behind Lies' story lies in its structure. Unlike Trader Joe's, which thrives on a hyper-optimized private label model, or Whole Foods, which has Amazon's massive financial cushion behind it, Lies Market had neither. It stood on its own, trying to compete in a grocery landscape where the rules had already changed and where big players had deeper pockets, faster logistics, and more room to fail. Lies was loved, but love alone can't keep a grocery chain alive when the economics break down. Shoppers who once made Lies a core part of their weekly routines are now witnessing the same unsettling pattern sweeping through communities nationwide. Shrinking produce sections, disappearing local favorites, and entire stores going dark with almost no warning. Many customers repeat the same painful sentiment. The dream of affordable organic groceries simply doesn't match the America they're currently living in. Number 2. Piggly Wiggly. More than 100 years ago, all the way back in 1916, Piggly Wiggly transformed the way Americans bought their groceries. It was the first supermarket that allowed shoppers to walk the aisles on their own, choose items from the shelves, and push their own carts. What feels ordinary today was completely groundbreaking at the time. Piggly Wiggly didn't just build a brand, it invented the modern grocery shopping model. For countless families across the South, that cheerful pink sign with the smiling pig wasn't just a logo. It became a symbol woven into community routines and regional identity. For generations, it was simply part of life. But in 2025, this once iconic name is slipping away quietly. There hasn't been a dramatic announcement or a wave of headlines. Instead, store after store has disappeared across South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Mississippi. A slow fade that began around 2022 and has continued right through 2025. Places that used to be packed on weekends now sit abandoned. Parking lots crack with weeds. The familiar Piggly Wiggly signs have either been removed or replaced by small independent markets, and some buildings sit vacant for months, their windows coated in dust, as if the past was erased overnight. The reason goes far deeper than times changed. Piggly Wiggly is built on an old-fashioned franchise system, scattered ownership, inconsistent store standards, and a logistics network that simply cannot compete with Walmart's massive distribution power or Aldi's hyper-efficient operations. Modernizing these stores is costly, and many locations fell behind on upgrades like digital inventory systems, faster restocking methods, or the streamlined shopping experience younger customers now expect. In a grocery industry where profit margins are razor-thin, nostalgia doesn't pay the bills. But the hardest part for longtime shoppers isn't the closures themselves, it's how they happen. There's no farewell message, no celebration of a century-long legacy, no acknowledgement of the generations who filled those aisles week after week. One day the doors are open, and the next morning the locks are in place, and the smiling pig, a symbol people grew up with, is suddenly gone. For many small towns, losing a Piggly Wiggly feels like losing a piece of their identity, a place tied to memories stretching back decades. Number 1. Family Dollar. Family Dollar's collapse looks nothing like the slow decline experienced by other chains on this list. Most grocery and discount retailers fade because profits shrink, costs rise, or competition squeezes them out. But Family Dollar's downfall in 2025 is rooted in something far more dramatic, a crisis so unexpected and so severe that it forced hundreds of stores to shut down overnight, leaving entire communities stunned. In under 3 years, Family Dollar had already closed 390 stores due to financial struggles and a corporate restructuring effort. But that wasn't what pushed them to the number 1 spot. The real blow came from a disaster no one saw coming. A massive rodent infestation inside one of the chain's main distribution warehouses. The situation was so serious that federal inspectors immediately ordered 404 additional stores across several southern states to close on the spot. No phase-out, no warnings, just immediate shutdowns. When investigators examined the Arkansas warehouse, what they found shocked the entire retail industry. Chewed through food packaging, contaminated shipments, and widespread waste that made countless products unsafe for sale. The consequences were instant. More than 1,000 different items were recalled across the region, one of the largest recall events ever recorded in the low-cost retail sector. Customers lost trust overnight, suppliers stepped back, and a chain already operating on razor-thin margins suddenly found itself battling a crisis it had no capacity to contain. But the financial side of the story is only half of the impact. Family Dollar serves some of the poorest neighborhoods in the United States. Communities where grocery options are already limited, transportation is difficult, and every dollar counts. Many of these towns have no Walmart neighborhood market, no Aldi. Some don't even have a local independent grocery store. For millions of families, Family Dollar wasn't just a convenience. It was the closest and most affordable place to buy canned food, toiletries, cleaning items, school snacks, and household essentials. So when a Family Dollar closes, people don't just lose a store, they lose their only nearby option. The effects are immediate and deeply personal. Single parents must drive 10-15 miles for basic items. Older adults on fixed incomes struggle to stretch their limited budgets even further. Families who are already one crisis away from financial instability suddenly face fewer choices and higher prices. The shutdown of a Family Dollar doesn't merely shift where people shop, it reshapes daily survival. And that is why Family Dollar sits at the top of this list. Not because it is the biggest chain, but because its collapse leaves behind the biggest human void. It exposes the most fragile parts of America's grocery system, places where the poorest communities have the fewest safety nets, and where a single corporate disaster can erase a neighborhood's access to affordable goods overnight. The stories in this countdown highlight an unmistakable truth. America's grocery landscape is changing faster than anyone expected. Rising costs, shrinking profits, and the spread of food deserts show just how fragile the system has become. These store closures aren't simply business decisions. They alter the rhythm of daily life, especially for older adults and low-income families. As more chains pull back, communities must adapt to longer drives, higher prices, and fewer choices. And with even more closures projected this year, the grocery map will continue to shift. Which chain's decline surprised you the most?